one of the things we find most interesting about the demonic is that they might give an actual tangible, empirical sense of evidence that the spiritual and the supernatural are real. Um, and so I don't want to sensationalize, but I'd love to know: is there one or two things that have happened that just knocked any of your doubts out of the park, and you're like, nope, that requires the supernatural? I mean, you talked a bit about other languages and strength and those types of things, but has there been one or two stories that just sealed it for you? Like, this has to be real. This has to be demonic. This proves it. Materialism can't account for this. Do you have any examples like that?
Yeah, I'll tell you an exorcism that I did recently. So, as an exorcist, I hear all kinds of very painful and horrific stories from people about how the demonic entered their life. This was a lady, she was 50 years old. She had grown up in Mexico and she had been away from the church for many years. She arrived in Indianapolis. Her neighbor invited her to come back to church. She said, "Well, I don't know." So the priest from the local parish went over to visit with them. And the priest said, he contacted me afterwards and said that he really felt like while he was there, there was a demonic presence in this woman. So then she agreed to come and speak with me. So myself, her friend came, and this other priest were having a conversation. And the lady shared with me that while growing up in Mexico, her father began to rape her at the age of 7. And it continued on over a 5-year period. When she turned 12, her father turned his attention to her younger sister. She was fractured, she was broken. She said that at the time she blamed God for allowing this to happen, so she abandoned her relationship with God, and then she turned to the world of the occult. She turned to curanderos, witch doctors, brujas, and witches who told her that they could help put the pieces of her broken life back together. But she said everything that they did just left her even more broken than before. She's telling me the story. She is sobbing uncontrollably, and then she looks at me and says, "Will you help me?" And I said, "Well, Jesus is the one who's going to help you." And soon as I said that, her eyeballs turned green, her pupils became slanted like a serpent, and this voice comes out of her mouth and says, "Who's he? He has no power over us." Now, her friend sitting next to her literally jumped over the table to get away. This other priest that I was with fell to his knees and began praying uncontrollably. He was so terrified. And I got up and I walked over, and this demon is looking at me with these green eyes, cussing me out again, blaspheming God. And I lay my hand on the person's head and I begin to pray. And then I reached in my pocket and took holy water and just blessed the person, again, reminding them of their baptism into Christ. The demon shrieked and collapsed and began whimpering and fell to the floor. Now, this was not the time to do the exorcism. As a priest, I prepare myself. I celebrate Mass. I go to confession. I will spend time in prayer. I determine where the exorcism will take place. I always tell people that an exorcism never takes place in an abandoned house at midnight on a dead-end street during a thunderstorm. That makes for a great Hollywood movie, perhaps, but the devil does not get to choose where he will be defeated. The church herself will make that determination. So the following week, we are in a chapel in the city of Indianapolis. Again, when I meet with somebody, it's me, the afflicted person. I require them to bring a family member or friend, and then there could be other people in the room that are there to pray. So we're in the chapel. When I do an exorcism, I will have the person sit in a chair facing towards the altar, and then I begin the rite of exorcism. And the components of the rite are actually meant to force the demon to reveal itself, because demons would prefer to remain hidden. But we can say that the rite of exorcism is dragging the demon into the light of Jesus Christ, kind of like a cockroach, if you will, that prefers the darkness and the cracks and the crevices. But the church drags the demon into the light of Christ. The rite begins by blessing the person with holy water, again reminding us of our baptism into Christ. I will read one or more of the Psalms that speak of God's care, his love and mercy for his people. I will read gospel accounts of Jesus casting out demons. The prologue of John's gospel, the word became flesh, is very powerful in an exorcism. These things infuriate the demons so much that even though they want to kind of remain hidden, they're forced to lash out just like a wild dog, if you will. Part of the ritual then is the insufflation prayer. So when I bless this person with holy water, there was the demon again. The eyes turned green, the slanted pupils. The demon looked at me and goes, "You can't get rid of us. We've been here too long, and you're not strong enough." And then began to laugh. But after reading from the Gospels, I did the insufflation prayer. It's the breathing on of the face of the person. It recalls when Jesus appeared in the upper room, he breathed on the face of his disciples and said, "Receive the Holy Spirit." It's the recognition that wherever the Holy Spirit is present, evil spirits cannot remain, fear is cast out. So I lightly breathed on the face of this person, with the demon looking at me with these green eyes, and lightly breathing. The chair actually flew back 10 feet like it was hit by a strong wind. And then there was a shriek and a scream. The lady comes flying up out of the chair and collapses onto the floor. Myself and the other priests lift her up, and she is literally glowing and glorifying and praising God. And one of the things that I've noticed in exorcisms to know that a demon has truly been cast out is that a person will radiate the glory of God because the demon is now gone. Many people might be familiar with pictures or paintings of saints that have a halo around their head. That halo is not their glory that they're radiating. They're radiating the glory of God. So much did they unite their lives, their free will, with the will of God, that they literally then will glow, if you will, the glory of God himself. So there's an example. And then whenever I work with somebody, I always put them under the pastoral care of their priest or their minister. I will say that as an exorcist, and because I'm publicly known, I currently receive 3,500 emails and phone calls a year from people who believe they're dealing with the demonic here from the United States, other parts of the world. They're Catholics, they're Christians from other faith traditions, they come from other world religions or no faith background whatsoever. So there's all kinds of people who are turning to the church who believe that they're dealing with the demonic. And then my role would be to investigate these situations or to network them with somebody in their local area who will be able to provide them with the care and the help that they need.
Now, I know you say it doesn't happen in a barn during a thunderstorm. That's very much a movie trope. But then you go on to describe something that could easily be a scene from a Hollywood horror film. So
Yes,
I have to ask, what are the tropes from movies that you've seen that are accurate? Or I'm assuming you've seen some movies with exorcisms in them. And what
absolutely.
are some Okay, great. Yeah. What are some tropes that are accurate, and what are some tropes from movies that are wholly inaccurate? And what are just some misperceptions about this that people may carry with them?